It's finally finished and it's quilted and I love it. I'm ready for Christmas. Good morning, everybody. It's Stephen here for Bland Designs, and this is my weekly vlog number 87 for October the 1st, 2018. Hope everybody had a good week last week and a good weekend. And yeah, let's get right into it. So let's start with the Christmas wall hanging, which you saw at the very beginning of this video as the teaser. I have it finished. It's all quilted. You saw it last week unquilted. And yesterday on Stephen and Walter Live, I showed what it looks like quilted as well. And I'm really happy with it. It turned out pretty nice. So yeah, that's a great project. And now I've started working or finishing up the large bed quilt. Now, you know, I've been working on this bed quilt for quite some time. And yesterday I finally got it finished in terms of quilting it, and I was attaching the binding. And I'm in the last stages of the binding, and when you know, I realized I had not caught one of the edges of the quilt so you could see some of the batting underneath. Now, at this point, I want to take the whole thing, ball it up, set it on fire, and run screaming naked through the streets. Well, I didn't do that, but I thought about it. The problem is, once you get the binding on at that point, trying to take the binding off to correct that mistake, well, it's impossible. Basically, I tried everything. I even went as far as to take a purple, because my backing is a dark purple, a purple Sharpie, yes, I did this, and colored in the white spot where you could see the batting. And that looks like crap. So I decided that was it. I'd had enough for the day. I was frustrated, so I threw the quilt over into a corner of my sewing table, and there it sits. Today, with a little bit more of a calmer perspective, I am going to remove the binding. That's going to take a while, and I'm going to redo that part of it. You know, at this point, there's no half measures. I've worked on this a long time. I'm fairly happy with the way it's been turning out. I'm not going to let it get wrecked because of one stupid little mistake on the binding. So I am going to fix it. Now, I don't know if I'll be able to salvage the binding piece or not. I might be able to. I may end up having to make a whole new binding strip. So that's going to take me a little bit longer. But I've come this far. I'm not giving up. I'll press on. And when I have it all completely done, I will show it to you. But I've also been putting together a series of videos showing my progress at various stages of the quilt making process. And I'm putting those all together when I have this finally finished as a special episode of The Idiot Quilter. And I'm going to include the little mistake I just talked to you about now. Because after all, it is part of being an idiot quilter. I was watching on Craftsy this morning when I was exercising. I did watch a video about troubleshooting mistakes in quilts, and I went to the binding section and I learned a few things there. I don't know what it is about binding that gives me such a pain. I've done them for almost every quilt that I've made so far with various degrees of success, but every time it seems when I get to the binding, that's where I tend to blow it. So practice makes perfect, I guess. So anyways, that's one of today's projects, is to get working on that. What else have I been working on? Well, I think I mentioned the gift bags that I've been put in charge of at the art gallery to create to thank performers that come and give their time for our MG Fridays. So this is the bag. Very simple little white bag that I bought at I think I got these ones at Dollar Tree, but Dollarama, wherever, dollar store. And I've made this label that picks up the colors of the art gallery, plus I have their logo as well on here, and I've got one on each side. So it makes the bag look a bit fancy. And inside that bag, they get rolled up our latest program of events that are coming up. A little black ribbon that gets put in there. They get a set of 4 with envelopes, original cards, my designs, again wrapped up with black ribbon. I'll come to that reasoning why there's black ribbon on it. And now these aren't done yet because I'm going over to the art gallery tomorrow to use their machine that makes buttons, but this is going to be one of the buttons that's going to go in the bag. And this one says, I performed at RMG Fridays. Okay, so that's what they get in the gift bag. It'll have a little foo-foo on it, you know, some black tissue paper coming out of it, make it look all very decorative and festive and that kind of thing. Now, this has been somewhat of a frustrating project. You wouldn't think so. As a volunteer, I got asked to do this, and I was given pretty much carte blanche as to how I was going to design it. I went over a few of the details, preliminary details, to get the okay from, you know, the person who's the coordinator for this, and everything seemed fine. So I created the buttons. Well, I had a completely different design. It was a little simpler. They decided, and when I say they, I'm dealing with one person, but suddenly this person is talking to other people at the art gallery that are full-time staff, and they're all putting in the 2 cents worth. And they decided they wanted a different background. Fine, they sent me the backgrounds they wanted. Then they wanted 2 different types of buttons instead of 1. Then they wanted one button to say this and one button to say that. And then they wanted a drop shadow, and then they wanted, okay. You gave me the idea that I was going to design this in the whole bit. I don't mind a little constructive criticism, fine-tuning, that's fine. But every step of the way, on something as simple as this, they kept changing what they wanted. I'm the kind of person that works ahead. I don't like leaving things to the last minute. So when you give me something to do, you better be sure that you've given me the right instructions, because I will do them instantly. That's the kind of person I am, and I move on to the next project. And then they leave me hanging and confused. And I write to them and I show them the pictures and I say, you know, is this what you want? Whatever. And I don't get an answer back from them for another day or so. Okay, I know people are busy, but it's the art gallery after all. And I'm sorry, but their jobs over there are not that time sensitive, okay? Or they're not that pressured with 1,000 meetings in a day, okay? No, let's get real about this, okay? So anyways, plus, you know, I'm a volunteer. I'm the one covering the expense on these bags. They're not. I bought the bags. I'm using my printer for the cards. It's my paper, my envelopes, my ribbon, all part of, you know, doing my part as a donation to the art gallery. So yeah, I get a little ticked off at the way that they treat volunteers. And in fact, that's basically what's pissing me off this week. So I'm just going to jump right ahead into that because I've already started talking about it. Let's talk about volunteers, okay? And how volunteers are abused in organizations. Now, I have to say, just back up for a second, at the art gallery, I enjoy volunteering and doing things like that. And I love doing creative things too. So, you know, that's fine. It's just that what gets my goat is second guessing my ideas. Why don't we sit down and plan for these things and get all the parties involved? I thought there was just me and then this one other person, and suddenly there's 2 other people putting in their 2 cents worth. And you know, was it too many cooks in the kitchen spoil the broth or something like that? So really, could we be a little bit more organized? Aha, there's one of the problems with being a volunteer. A lot of organizations are not that organized. They all want volunteers, but they want volunteers to do Joe jobs. Basically, the jobs they don't want to do as paid staff. The dirty jobs, the nitpicky jobs, the mindless little sorting jobs and things like that. Okay, I get it. It's volunteer. Right, okay. However, why not plan ahead? Now, that could just be me. I am a very well-planned person. I am very organized. When I had strengths, when I was writing up resumes for jobs and things like that, asked for strengths, I would always put in my ability to be organized and efficient. because I do consider organization an art, and I have always been that way. So, you know, I expect other people to be that way too, especially people who are in charge, okay? If you're organized, if you have a plan, and it's clear to the people that are going to execute the plan, then things are going to work. At least that's the way I think. So, one of the things that pisses me off about volunteering is lack of organization. Another thing is the way you get treated as a volunteer. Oh, when you first sign up for something, they're all hearts and flowers about it. But as time goes by, they take you for granted. And yes, in this organization that I'm working for right now as a volunteer, they do show their appreciation by, you know, having a special luncheon. Although, to be quite honest, the last luncheon they had was crap. And I mentioned that in one of the previous videos. I mean, again, I know they're strapped for cash, but it's kind of an insult. They're thinking they're doing us a big favor and that we should be appreciative. You know, a nice thank you card, as opposed to that horrible lunch we had, would have been better, more appreciated, really. Ironically, the thank you card probably would have been one of mine that I'd made. But anyways, I digress. So that's another thing that pisses me off about volunteering. They take you for granted. The other thing about volunteering, and I was warned about this at a seminar I went to years ago before I retired, about the year before I retired, I went to a special Saturday all-day seminar. I paid $100 and some for this, about planning for retirement, but it was about the social aspects of it. And one of the things that the person leading the seminar said was, as soon as you retire, you're going to want to do volunteer work because you feel that you need to fill in your time and that kind of thing, and you want to give back. Okay. She recommended you don't volunteer until about 2 years into your retirement, until you get established in your routines and things and what you want to do with retirement. She said a lot of people rush right into volunteering and they don't have a good experience. She was right. I rushed right into volunteering. I volunteered for the local senior citizens community center. Again, I did a whole lot of work for them that they didn't want to do, a lot of my own expense in terms of time and in actual financial outlay for things, and they quite frankly screwed me around. I'm not going to get into the details about that, but I'm still a little bitter about that, to the point where I got rid of my membership. That was the other thing. To be a volunteer, I had to join the Senior Citizens Community Center, which was only like about $15 a year or something like that, or 10, I forget what. But here you go. I had to pay money to be a volunteer. What's wrong with that equation? Okay? There's definitely something wrong with that equation. But they basically, they weren't organized. They took advantage of me. And in that case, didn't even get a thank you for it. Any of the stuff that I did, really. Oh, they did have an appreciation lunch once a year. And actually, it was a little nicer lunch than the one we had at the art gallery. I don't know, maybe they have a better budget. Something like that. But okay. So, you know, maybe I'm asking too much. But really, these places ask for volunteers. You volunteer and they take advantage of you. Another thing that she warned me about, the seminar leader, she said that once you volunteer, a lot of organizations want you to make a time commitment. They want you to say, oh yeah, you'll definitely stay with them for a full year or longer. Or they want you on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. Or they want you from this time to this time, this day of the week and that. It becomes, she said, like a job. And so now you no longer have the freedom, being retired, to dictate your own hours for things. And she's right. That's how it works. Now, to go back to the art gallery. So we did purposely, because they canceled out the educators, which is what I was at one point in the art gallery, the volunteer group that took around school tours and things like that. That's now no more, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But the other thing about that is that I'm getting old. I'm losing my train of thought. Just a second. Maybe it's a little early in the morning for this. I don't know. Anyways, What was I saying? Oh yeah. Another thing about this time commitment and the whole thing like that is they think you are at their call. Now, we went to the art gallery and looked for opportunities to volunteer, and there was a bunch of things we're getting involved in, but then we told them, okay, they want us to do something on a particular date in October. We're tied up on that date. And so we said, well, sorry, we can't do that date. Okay, fine. Get an email a week later asking if we can do, again, something on this same date. No, we already said we're not available. Sorry. They don't write things down, which gives you the impression that really anything that comes out of your mouth means nothing because you're a volunteer. You're not full-time staff. I definitely get that attitude from the art gallery. The art gallery tends to be a little snotty. I'm sorry, but they are. I'm waiting for them to turn around and tell me they would rather I didn't use my own artwork on these cards that I create, that I pay for, put in there, you know. They'll probably want me to use one of their backgrounds from one of their licensed artists or something like that. I'll tell you right now, if they turn around and they reject my artwork, I'm not doing it. Simple as that. I'll say, well, I find this insulting, and as such, obviously, my art's not good enough for this, so you go ahead and make them yourself. I mean, yeah, maybe that sounds like sour grapes or something like that, but really, since I have been volunteering for them, I have found there's a distinct tone around this art gallery that unless you are a world-renowned artist, unless you're somebody that the curator thinks is really good, and remember, although that may be an educated opinion, it is still just an opinion, because art, there are no rules in art. I'm sorry, but these people that have degrees in art and that, and they think, you know, that their opinion is more important than anybody else's, and that they know what art is and what art isn't. Well, everything is art, as far as I'm concerned, and you've heard me talk about that before too. You know, crafters don't get considered to be in the art community as artists. They are artists. They are truly artists. And whether they do scrapbooks, or they do quilts, or they do cards, or they do sculpture, or they do, you know, doodle, Zen art, or something like that, it's all art. It is all art. But I digress again. So back to the volunteer situation. So what's pissing me off is just the way a lot of organizations treat volunteers, like we're slaves, that we're there to do all the jobs they don't want to do, and they can give us anything to do, but they don't want to hear any input from us at all. Just do it. Okay, so then organizations wonder why they have to beg for volunteers. You know, it's a vicious circle, really. Okay, well, that's what's pissing me off this week, and that was a little early in the show. All right, let's go back to what other things I've been working on. Oh, these are cute. Took my embroidery class on Saturday, and we did something called freestanding applique. Now, at first, I was kind of apprehensive about this, kind of thought, oh, stupid little shapes or whatever. But no, I am really impressed. So we were to show up with basically a quilt sandwich, which is a layered, you know, top fabric, batting, bottom fabric. And then we had this pattern that we put into our machines, and away we went. And this was really cool because the machine, the program, turns around and stitches out onto your stabilizer, which is sheets of stuff you use so that your stitches and things will, you know, go through your fabric properly. It did an outline. You laid down a piece of the material on top of that. It sewed it on top of that outline. Then you took a pair of really neat scissors. I've been thinking about buying a pair of these before, but I definitely got some on Saturday when I was there. Applique scissors, which are, they have like a wider part on one of the blades so that you don't actually cut into your stitches, and it lets you get really close and you trim all the way around the material while it's still in the hoop. Okay, it's still secured. And then you go into the next programs and it stitches in the veins, and then it does all this fancy stitching around the outside of it. And The stabilizer you use is a water soluble. So what happens is you have stabilizer hanging out from the edges of this, and you just take it, trim it off as close as you can to the shape, dunk it in some water for a few seconds, and the stuff disappears. It just dissolves away. It also acts as a stiffener as well, because I washed some of the residue off of this, but I left a little tiny bit on, so it just stiffens it up a little bit more. So these were really cute. So cute. Oh, these are the backs. That was the front material. This is the back material. You could do them out of any colors you wanted, but I like these colors because I thought they were sort of fallish. I'm going to my sister's on Sunday for Thanksgiving dinner, because it's Thanksgiving in Canada this weekend. And she loves to put things on her tables for special occasions to decorate them, and I thought these would be perfect. I'll make her, a couple of sets of these, and she can just distribute them across her dining room table. They'll act also as coasters, and you can take a bunch of them, make them, and you can sort of sew them together into a long strip, and you have a fancy looking runner as well. So really cool technique. I really enjoyed this. So, sometimes you think an idea sounds bad, but it turns out to be the exact opposite. So I learned something that week. So I'm looking forward to next week. In fact, they were showing us a freestanding angel that's all done with your embroidery machine, but you, I don't know what else you do to it. I think you use that water-soluble stiffener and that, but it's 3D. You assemble it, and it looks really cool. They showed us one, and I think we're going to make one of those in December, but we may not do them before Christmas. It may be after Christmas, she said, but we'll see. So anyways, that was fun, and I'm dying to get to work on these, but I can't do these until I fix the quilt. Okay, so that's all the stuff I've been working on this week. So YouTube channel of the week. This one's a little different. The lady that puts this up is a very popular vlogger. She's from Australia. She's been on talk shows, apparently, has a couple of books out. I had heard about her some time ago and sort of forgot about her, but I just caught her again the other day, and I thought I'd share this information with you. And also the reason she caught my attention is because she just came out as a member of the LGBTQ community. So we have something in common. So just watch this. The YouTube channel of the week is one created by an Australian lady by the name of Elly, and it goes by Elly Awesome. Now, I came across her, probably a year and a half ago when I first started watching another another Australian YouTube channel called Inky Quill. And on Inky Quill, that person recommended Elly Awesome. Now, apparently she has some books out, and she's a regular vlogger, and she does a lot of videos about a lot of different topics. But what I like about this particular YouTube channel is the variety of things. She talks about making things. She talks about life. She talks about her own personal journey through life. She talks about food, all kinds of stuff. But lately, she has just come out in Australia as a member of the LGBT community. So she has some videos about that topic as well now. I find her very lively. She has a real bubbly personality, and her videos are usually very entertaining, and they're very, very professional. No wonder she has a subscriber base of well over I think something like 281,000 subscribers plus. So she must be doing something right. So if you want something a little different, something that's entertaining, check out Elly Awesome. So Elly Awesome's YouTube channel is listed in the notes below, as are the book I'm going to talk about today and Stephen and Walter Live this week. Now, just a couple of things about Stephen and Walter Live. We had a technical issue. We thought when you go to, if you weren't there live, if you go to the rebroadcast, you're going to find a couple of things. One, the broadcast stops abruptly. Something happened with the connection. It just froze. I couldn't get it back. Nothing. Don't know what the problem was. So it ended before it should have ended. The other problem is there was some sound issues. People were telling us while we were live that the sound was reverberating or crackling and things like that. Now, we kind of can monitor it from our phones. We do it all through an iPad. I'm making this right now through an iPad. And we didn't hear any of those problems. And it was intermittent. I'm not sure about in the playback whether that's, well, it must be happening in that too, because Nairi, who is a regular, she wrote to me to say that there was some reverberation in it when she did the playback. I thought maybe it was a problem with the microphone, but I don't think it is, because I'm using the same microphone right now as I make this. I think what it was is something on either with our internet provider. We have been having some problems lately with that, or it had something to do with YouTube or whatever, but I don't think it was with our equipment. I think because we did some testing afterwards and everything seemed to check out fine. So anyways, I'm hoping that that was just a, one-time little problem and we won't have to worry about that again. So please, if you watch the rebroadcast of Stephen and Walter Live this week, I'm sorry that there was this technical issue, but it was beyond our ability to fix it at the time. And as I said, I hope we don't have that problem in the future. Also about Stephen and Walter Live this coming week, because it is Thanksgiving here in Canada and because we are going over to my sister's for dinner, we're going to be on an hour earlier. So instead of at 4 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we will be on at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? Sorry, I don't know if that'll work out better for some people in other parts of the world or worse. I guess it depends on your time zone. Sorry about that, but we're going to dinner. So the other option was we thought about just not doing it, but oops, sorry, that was me. That was not a technical, that was me hitting my desk. We love doing them. We enjoy it. It's like getting together with friends and, having a drink and talking for a while. So that's the way it feels. So we don't like to miss them. So we're not going to miss it. We'll be on at 3 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time this Sunday. Okay. So I've already done what's pissing me off. Product review, or what's new? Well, I got a new light in my sewing room. Okay. All right, I know. No big deal. But it is a big deal. The fluorescent light that's in there right now that Walter had installed years ago is in a bad position when I'm cutting fabric. My body casts a shadow, so I can't see. And my eyes aren't the best in the world either, especially in dimmer light, and I'm doing something that's fine cutting or fine sewing and that kind of thing. I need to be able to see. So he went out and got me a new fluorescent style light, but it's LEDs. And he hung it up on Saturday while I was at my sewing class for me over top of my cutting area, and it works dandy. It's great. It's much brighter than the other one. It's in a position where I don't cast a shadow. So now it'll probably just blind me. That's okay. I'm joking. I can see properly for cutting my fabric and also for sewing as well, because it, adds more light to that. So more light's good. So that's something new. And the other thing that's new is not really a product, but you've heard me talk several times about a friend of mine out in Calgary has established a paid site called The Quilter's Way, which is an excellent site. I highly recommend it. Go to chatterboxquilts.com. You'll find the link to The Quilter's Way and all the details are there. And Kim is offering 2-week free trial before you commit. It's not expensive. Now, I'm not sure what she's going to charge. The price went up a little bit as of October the 1st, but I got it at the introductory offer of $10 US a month. So I don't imagine it's going up to a lot more than that, I wouldn't think. But anyways, I'm not sure what the charge is now, but it's worth it. Especially if you are a new quilter, or even if you're somebody that's experienced. She's got an awful lot of content there that will really help you out, and not just with quilting, but with embroidery as well, but also stuff about mindset, organization skills, things like that. So I think it's well worth joining up if you're into any kind of sewing at all. But she had a 5-day challenge this week that at first I wasn't going to join because I didn't think I had enough material to join it. And it was decluttering your sewing room, your stash, your material, your fabric. I have a stash, but it's not that big yet, I didn't think. But I watched each day's video about what to do, and I did follow it along actually, and yes, I learned a lot, plus my stash is now organized. So that's great. She's talking about doing another one of these kind of challenges only with scraps. Those I have a lot of. So yeah, I'm on board for that one. Because I'm not sure how to organize my scraps to make it the most efficient. So as I said, check it out. Go to chatterboxquilts.com and I think it's .com. Yeah, I'm sure it's .com. And go to click on the Quilter's Way and you can find out more. Okay, so that brings us to the book review of the week. Now this is not a book for the faint of heart. I'll show you why. Not a lot of pictures. This is a more serious, in-depth study of, and it's called The Scrapbook in American Life. Now, I bought this several years ago because I was giving courses to teachers about how to use scrapbooking to enhance their curriculum in their classrooms at all levels, from kindergarten to grade 12. And one section I did was I talked very briefly about the history of scrapbooking. And a lot of those things came from this book. It's an interesting read. It starts way back in the early 1800s or so, about how scrapbooking got started, what it was called before it was scrapbooking, why people did it, its connections to historical events, family history, things like that. It's a very interesting read, but it is a technical read, okay? It's more academic. So if you don't like reading that kind of thing, I don't recommend this. But if you do, this is a good resource. Now, it's not a cheap resource. At the time that I bought it, I don't know if the price is on here, and I don't even remember where I bought it. I may have gotten it online, but I'm not even sure what year it was printed in. Copyrighted 2006. And it is published by a university, Temple University Press in Philadelphia, so you know it's basically an academic book. I wonder if it was somebody's thesis at one time or something, a PhD. In the States, you can get PhDs in almost anything. So it wouldn't surprise me that you can get a PhD in scrapbooking or whatever it is. But I looked it up on Amazon.ca, and get this, their price is $50.09 if you buy it new. I didn't see it listed in used, however. So maybe you can find it in your local library. I don't know. Because that's pretty pricey for the kind of, and I understand why, because of the kind of book that it is. However, if you're not into academic reading or that kind of thing, then you probably aren't going to want to spend the 50 bucks. But I thought I'd share this with you because, it's kind of interesting to know why people started keeping scrapbooks. And there's a lot more to it than what you may have thought. And this tells you that. Okay. Oh, and the authors of this are Susan Tucker, Catherine Ott, and Patricia P. Buckler. And I have the link for this in the notes below. Okay. Inspiration tips this week. Well, lately I haven't had many inspiration tips because I haven't been doing a lot of crafting as much as quilting, as you well know. But the other day I was experimenting with my die cutting machines and my dies to see if I could cut fabric, because there is a system that's put out by the people who make the regular dies and things for cutting fabric to do applique and that kind of thing. And I thought, well, wait, if I was to invest in one of those systems, I already have several die cutting machines and lots of dies. I wonder if I can cut my own fabric using what I've got. Yes, you can. Simple as that. Yes, you can. So I was playing around, cutting, seeing how many layers of fabric I could cut and shapes that I could cut and things like that. And I do have a Cricut maker too, which has a rotary blade. That's its claim to fame, actually. And it will cut appliques as well. However, I do know with the Cricut maker, if you have too many little nicks or little small areas that it has to cut, it doesn't work very well with that, whereas the die cutting machine does. So, you know, I have the two, and I can cut appliques and things like that. But I got thinking about this. You probably have scrap material laying around the house, so why not incorporate into mixed media, scrapbook pages, or on tags, applique style cuts you make with your dies on fabric instead of just paper. It's a totally different look. It adds texture, and you can do all kinds of things with it. So I thought, yeah, how about mixing? You know, truly in mixed media, you mix different mediums. Fabric's a medium. Why not? Give it a shot. So I think when I do I might do a collage this way at some point, mixing it up with fabric pieces and paper pieces, cut using the die machine. Just a thought. Haven't got there yet and done it, but down the road. You know I have a long list of ideas, and I never get to most of them, but I love making lists. Okay, so that's the inspiration. And in speaking of die cutting and my Cricut, when I first got my Cricut, I went crazy. Now this is back I've had 3 Cricuts machines so far. So when I went back and got my very first one, of course in those days, Cricut used to publish or make cartridges that went into the machine, and that had all your cuts on it. And so I started to collect them, and they're quite pricey, and I've got quite a few. And now you don't use cartridges anymore. It's all done online with the company. So these are kind of vintage now. But here, I did a little video clip to show you what I'm talking about. So what's in my drawers this week? Well, I'm going to take you into one of my cupboards and show you. You see all of these? For those of you that have a Cricut or have had a Cricut, you know exactly what these are. These are the cartridges. This is how Cricut used to distribute their cut designs. You used to buy a cartridge, and the cartridges ranged in price from $19.99 upwards. Many of these cost me closer to probably about $49 a piece, Canadian. And you can see how many are here, and you can start doing the math. Now, of course, Cricut doesn't do cartridges anymore. They do it all online through their software, so you just get access to whatever things that you want, but you pay a fee for those, although they do have a lot that are free. But here they all are, all these different and they're cartridges, and they're stacked 2 deep, as you can see. Behind here are more. I was a real fanatic when I first got into Cricut in acquiring these. Now basically, these are almost a one-off. What I mean by that is, you used to load them up into your machine, and you only needed to do that link once if you were using the web-based software, and that was it. So they never came out of the box again. They used to come with little booklets. Let me see if I can find one here. For example, this had a little booklet so that you could see what all the graphics were and the layers for putting things together. And in some cases, they even came with an overlay for your keyboard on the actual machine, on the older style Cricuts. The newer style ones don't need that, of course, because they're completely web-based in the software. But when I think about the amount of money this represents that I spent, and I'm talking here probably several thousands of dollars, it's mind-boggling. What do I do with these now? I don't know. They're gathering dust. They're sitting in this cupboard. Maybe I should give them away, because I always have access to these through the Cricut website. But I don't know. This is one of those things too, you know, you look at and you think, I put all this money into it. Do I really want to give these things away? So I don't. So anyways, that's what's in my drawers this week. And as I said, if you are an owner of a Cricut machine and you've had one for quite a while, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So just like everything else I have in my scrapbook room, 1's nice, 2 is great, buy the whole set, and you're in heaven. Now, though I don't have the whole set of all those Cricut cartridges, I have an awful lot of money, as I mentioned, tied up in those. So anyways, there they sit in my cupboard. Technology has changed. Okay, so what's been going on this past week? Mom's okay. In fact, the last couple of times we've been over to see her, she has seemed to be a little bit more with it, a little bit livelier, a little more active, which I think is good. She is taking part in some of the activities that are in the hospital. I'm happy about that. Of course, she's still waiting for the nursing home, but as I said, that could be months and months before it happens. But I was happy to see that she seems to be happy, or at least more positive in attitude. So that's a good thing. Had the EKG, or the echocardiogram, whatever they call it, for my heart. Had that last Monday. Haven't heard a word from the doctor. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think the doctor said if they detected a heart murmur from the results of this, she would give me a call. I think she said that. I go to see her in another couple of months again. So I guess I'll find out more at that point in time if I don't find out before. I don't know. I'm a little concerned about it, but some of you have reached out to me, and I'm just shifting on my stool here. My leg's going to sleep. That have heart murmurs or know about them and say, it's nothing really to worry about. Don't get uptight. So I'm trying not to get uptight. If I don't hear anything from the doctor in another week, I will assume that all is well. And that's the way I'm going to think about it. Now watch, I'll get a call today and tell me, oh my God, you got to come in here. You've got this huge hole in your heart and we need to fix it. Well, I don't think it's going to be that bad, but I'm a worrier. So, of course, I'm doing my blood pressure every day. And according to that stupid machine, I should be dead. So, whatever. Walter says no. He says your numbers are okay. Don't worry about the machine. The machine has this baseline that it works with, and you know, it's the ideal, and you know, he checks his blood pressure every day because he's on blood pressure pills. I really don't want to go on pills, but I don't know, I guess it's maybe a sign of, you know, of my age, but we'll see. Again, she asked me to monitor it every day, and so I'm keeping my little charts, and I'll take those in when I go in December, and we'll see where it goes from there. I imagine she's going to put me on some sort of blood pressure pill. My parents were both on them, so it's probably hereditary. I don't know. Yeah, so that's about all we've done the past week. In fact, we were trying to talk about this on Stephen and Walter Live yesterday, and we couldn't remember. I'm telling you, the weeks, the days, everything just are moving so fast anymore. It's hard to keep up. Thank God I keep an agenda. I wouldn't be able to tell you what day it was today if I didn't have the agenda. That worries me a little bit. You know, is that old age too? Or does it just mean that you're so busy doing all kinds of things you just can't keep it all straight? I think I'll go with that. Okay. Oh, and Walter did something new in the Instapot for dinner last night. He cooked a whole chicken in the Instapot. Now, we'd seen this on YouTube, and Walter had been thinking about giving this a go, so he tried it last night, and actually it worked okay. Whether you save a lot of time in comparison to doing it if you just threw it in the roasting pan, he wasn't sure about that. He said it might have been a little faster, but there's different things you have to do. It's not just a question of dropping your chicken in the Instapot and away you go. You know, if you want it browned, you need to sear it a little bit. If you want to make it crispy on the outside, you need to put it under your broiler. So there's other steps in it, but for the most part, it turned out pretty good. So I did just a little quick video of our chicken. So Walter has decided to try cooking a whole chicken in the Instapot, and here's what it's looking like right now. And so what do you have to do to it now?
I might brown it a little bit so it looks a little browner.
It's going to brown it so it looks a little browner. And can you make gravy out of that?
I'll give it a try.
Out of that? So this is an experiment, but we saw it on YouTube. People do this, so we thought we'd give it a try. And so here's the final result of the Instapot chicken. We haven't actually tested it yet, but it looks pretty good. And how long did that take you to make?
Well, it was 25 minutes on there, but I let it sit in there for a little bit. So it still took about 10 minutes to heat up, so probably still took about an hour or so.
So, and then you were able to make gravy.
Well, yeah, more or less. It's not real. It's sort of fudged a little bit.
No, it's fudged gravy. So, there you go. Another use for an Instapot. So, what's coming up in the next week? Well, Walter's got double whammy tomorrow in sewing classes. Two of his classes, one's already been going, the other one's starting, and they're both on the same day. So one's in the afternoon, one's in the evening. So he's just going to be a little sewing ninja all day tomorrow. I have the first meeting of this year's Quilters Guild, and I did join. And I had thought about taking, before I had the whole episode with the binding, the bed quilt I'm making to show at the show and tell section. Don't think it's going to be ready for that, and I don't know if I will ever take that. I don't know if I have the confidence yet to show my quilts off at the Quilting Guild. 100 and some odd women and me. There is supposed to be another guy, but I've never laid eyes on him. Maybe he'll be there tomorrow night. But anyways, I'm looking forward to the Quilting Guild because you learn a lot of things. And you usually have a guest speaker that's always very interesting too. So, and they're a friendly group of ladies. So, yeah, I'm a member now. I'm a member of the guild. What else is coming up? Well, next weekend, as I said, next Sunday, it's Thanksgiving. So we'll be going over to my sister's for dinner. This might feel a little weird this year because up until now, with my mother in the hospital, my mother's always been part of those kind of things. And she's not going to be this year. So we'll do something with my mother over at the hospital, that kind of thing. But yeah, that'll be kind of different. But I guess that's how life changes. Okay, so can't think of anything else is coming up. Boring life. I don't know. So I hope you have an exciting week, and we'll see you. Remember, Stephen and Walter live this Sunday, hopefully without technical problems, starting at 3 p.m. instead of 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.